Okay, so we're doing a Fanny Pak today. This is class 1. We're going to make this Fanny Pak. It has a zipper and a lining and an exterior. We're going to work on creating the pack part with the zipper today, and we're going to do the buckle part next session. So I just had everyone cut a 14 by 8¼ piece of interfacing. And then the easiest thing to do is just take your fabrics, your lining and your exterior, and we're going to lay the interfacing on it and cut it out, use it as a pattern. Make sure you get these cuts right. Go slow. Double check with me, because if you don't, then it's definitely going to affect the project. Okay, so I finished that piece and I'm going to set it aside. And now I'm going to work on, I'm going to put the lining and the exterior fabric aside. Now I'm going to work on the interfacing. That's 14 and a half by 5. If I have enough interfacing. Double check that it's fine. So now I'm going to use that again as a pattern to cut out my lining and exterior. When I made my sample, I didn't do it this way. I don't know what I was thinking. I cut out each piece. Would have been so much easier than it this way. Measuring each piece. Okay. So now you can put that piece aside. And then we just have one more thing that we need to cut out. We need to cut out, I'm going to put it in the chat. Call it end pieces. Okay, so we are going to need to cut some more interfacing. So we need 2 pieces that are 3 by 3 1/4. So I'm just gonna fold this in half like this, so I can cut 2 pieces that are the same size. And they're 3 inches tall and 3 1/4 wide. So I'm gonna shorten this up a little, waste my interfacing. So 3 1/4. So none of this is going to show all my pencil marks. Normally, we would never do this in fashion, but because it's a fanny pack and this is just the interfacing, none of these marks are going to show. So it's okay to use pencil, or if you have a fabric marker that washes out, that's great. Just double checking my measurements because it's not going to show, because we're going to have a lining and we're going to have it's just the interfacing. So this in half. I have my two pieces of interfacing. And I'm going to use them as a pattern to cut my other pieces. So these 3 by 3 1/4 pieces, we don't need to cut them in the lining, just the exterior fabric. So I'm just going to grab my exterior fabric. But we do need 4 pieces, so I'm going to just fold mine like twice. And I'm going to use a pin to hold it. Place. Are any of you using prints or stripes or anything like that for your fabric? If you are, you might want to think about the direction. I have a print, so I just wanted to make sure everything was going on the length frame. So now I have my 2 interfacing and 4 of these in my watermelon. Should have 4. I only have 3. Oops. 1 more. Okay, so 2 3 by 3 1/4 interfacing, and then 4 of your exterior fabric. So I'm going to set those aside. And now you can put your fabric away and your interfacing. And now we're going to start cutting down the pieces that we just cut into the shape of the fanny pack. So we're going to work with the interfacing. The first thing we're going to do is fold it in half. I'm working with my 14 by 8 1/4. So that's the one we want to work with first, the fatter interfacing. Fold it in half, and I'm going to mark my pencil, the top and the bottom where the half is. I just marked it with my pencil. Like I use the fold as my guide. And then you're going to take your ruler and you're going to measure 2 3/8 inches from this top half mark. Mouse is in my way. 2 3/8. So I just marked that right there. So from my half, I know this is backwards for you guys, so I'm standing facing my fabric, and from the half I'm working away to the right. So you want to go measure 2 3/8 to the right, not to the left. And then the next thing you want to do is working towards the right, is you want to measure 1 3/4 inches from this corner. So for you guys, it would be this corner. And you want to measure 1 3/4 inches at a diagonal. And I'm just putting a little dot. And then from that same corner, you're going to measure down 3 1/4. So I have 3 1/4, I have 1 3/4, I have 2 3/8. And then you're going to draw this soft curve. So you want to connect the dots, making this soft curve. So you're starting at 0 here at this point, and you want to pass through that point down to the bottom point. If I can get my camera lower.
Amy, can you repeat the measurement again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so starting from the center, you're going to work with the fabric facing you. You're going to work to the right, and you're going to measure 2 3/8. And then in the corner in the right, you're going to measure diagonally 1 3/4 and put a dot. And then from that same top corner, you're going to measure down 3 1/4. So now I'm just going to softly draw in my curve with my pencil. You see that now?
What is the middle measure?
This little dot here,
Uh-huh.
it's 1 3/4 from
1
the corner.
Okay, and then the last one?
3 1/4. Do you guys want me to type that in the chat?
Yes, please.
So now that I have my curve, I'm just gonna, well, we need to do another drawing, one more drawing, and then we'll cut. So from the bottom corner now, so our drawing is right here, it's on the right side of our interfacing. Now we're going down to the bottom corner. From that corner, we're gonna measure out 3 3/8. So I just marked 3 3/8. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ruler and make a straight line connecting this mark here and measure down 3 1/4. I'm going to connect that mark with my 3 3/8. A straight line. My my ruler, just like that. So now your interfacing should look like this. This on one side and just plain on the other side. This is the right side facing me. So after you do that, then you can fold it like this and cut along those lines. So you want to fold it in half again. We want it to be the same on both sides. We're making ourselves a little pattern. And you can either use a weight or a little pin, something to hold it. And then you're just gonna make that cut. Oh, one last thing, before you cut, measure this, it should be 6 inches. So this curve should be 6 inches. Let's just do that. Mine is 6 inches, so I'm good. All right, so now we have this nice piece here. This is the back of our fanny pack. And you can go ahead, we can go ahead and attach it to the our watermelon shape here. I mean, our exterior fabric. I'm thinking and talking at the same time. So the inner facing is going to be attached to the exterior fabric. We will not attach inner facing to the lining. And I'm going to clean my camera because it's acting a little weird. So interfacing is getting attached to the exterior fabric, not the lining. I'm going to go attach this right now with the iron. I'm going to just put my iron on and smoothly attach just like this. And then after I've attached the interfacing, then I'm going to cut these excess edges off, and I'm going to have this perfect piece ready to sew. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. After I'm done putting the interfacing on that fabric, then I'm going to lay my exterior fabric piece on my lining and cut my lining to match. That's the next step. Make sure that your fabric is ironed nice and flat before you attach the lining, because if you have wrinkles in it like this, they'll like permanently stay once you attach the interface. So now actually I'm gonna lay my lining doesn't really have a right side or a wrong side, so I'm not worried about it. If yours does, you want to always do right sides together. I'm actually just gonna lay this on top like that and cut them out both together. Okay, so now I have my two, this is the back piece for the fanny pack, and my wrinkles kind of did get ironed in, but hopefully they won't show. I'm gonna iron this one more time, and then we'll work on the this long skinny piece next. Okay. Are you guys following along okay?
I'm just watching right now.
Okay. So for the 14 and a half by 5 piece, you're going to take the interfacing, and we're going to do the same thing that we did with the other interfacing. We're going to make all our marks, cut it to the pattern size, and then we're going to use it as a, we're going to glue it to the exterior fabric and then use it as a pattern piece to cut out a lining. So we start the same way we did with the other piece. We fold it in half. And I'm just going to press, finger press. I'm going to mark the top and the bottom. And then I'm going to take, I want to work on this side. I don't want to work on the glue side. And then I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to measure from the bottom center piece, again to the right, 4 5/8. And put a little mark. So I have halfway and then measuring this way, 4 5/8. And then I'm going to use my ruler and I'm going to connect that 4 5/8 dot with the top corner here. So the top right corner. Similar to how we did on that other piece. So that's my only line. And then I'm just going to cut it off. Well, first I'm going to fold it in half and then cut it off because we want both sides to be the same. So now I have a piece that's shaped like this, and I'm going to attach it to my 14 and a half by 5 exterior fabric. So I'm going to go do that. I'm going to iron it onto the back right now, and I will pause the recording so you guys don't have to. So now we're going to do the same thing, lay the lining and the exterior fabric on top of each other. And we're going to cut them out. So this piece is finished and I'm going to set it aside. And this piece, actually, we need to trim it a little bit. Forgot to do that. So I'm going to line up the lining and the interfacing again. And put my weight on it or pin it if you have pins. And we're just going to smooth out these corners. So actually, let's fold it in half. So that they can all be the same. So we're just smoothing this out. I'll draw it with the pencil. It's easier. I'm just gonna smooth this little corner like that so it's rounded. You draw it with your pencil first. It's literally just that teeny little snip. And then same thing here. Just a little snip to smooth that corner. Getting some pattern making skills today. So yeah, so now this is the back piece of the fanny pack. It should look like this shape of it. Rounded all the way. These edges here are rounded. Get it. Okay, so now we're going to start working with our zipper. Does anyone have any questions? So the actual inspiration video gives instructions to use a 12-inch zipper opening, but I found that it didn't work very well that way. So I'm changing it to a 13-inch opening. So how long are your zippers, you guys? You guys probably, I hope you have big, long ones like me. Mine's like 16 inches from end to end. So I'm gonna shorten it to 13. So to do that, I just start with my ruler at the top where my zipper pull is, and I measure down 13 inches, and then you take some chalk or whatever you have and mark the end. I just mark the end right here. And that's where I'm going to sew with my sewing machine. So I'm just going to go up to the sewing machine, stick my needle into the tape, and sew back and forth on this line. I'm going to use right now I have white thread. I'm going to have to change my thread to black so it doesn't show so much. This is a nylon zipper. You guys should all have a nylon plastic zipper, so it's perfectly fine to sew over it. If you don't have a nylon zipper, a metal one, don't do this. That's not how you shorten Does anyone have any questions? Are you guys all watching or anyone sewing with me, cutting with me?
I'm watching.
I'm watching too.
I'm going along with you.
Maria's braiding it out with me. Okay. All right, I'm gonna go shorten the zipper. Okay, so now I'm just gonna cut off the end. So if you have pinking shears, use pinking shears because that will help prevent the fraying. If you don't, it'll be fine because it won't show once it's sewn into the bag and it'll stay hidden in there. I'm just double checking my length again before I cut. It's 13. I'm gonna leave like a 3/4 of an inch tail. Pinking shears are so stiff, so try to use them without hurting my wrist. Kind of mangled the end, but it won't show. Okay, so now that that is shortened, now we can start attaching the zipper. So we're gonna start with the this sort of like angular piece. I don't know, what shape is this? Does anyone know geometry? It looks kind of like a boat to me, so the boat shape, and I'm gonna have it face up. I'm gonna open my zipper a little bit. And I'm gonna turn my zipper. I'm gonna have the opening on the right side of the piece. Because if I'm wearing my, switch the camera. Because if I'm wearing my fanny pack over my shoulder like this, I want the opening to be up here. So I'll just show you, when I made my sample, I wasn't thinking about that. And now, and I like to wear my fanny pack on this side. I mean, you might want to wear it on this side. So it just depends. Or maybe you don't care. But I like mine on this side. And my zipper opening is down here. So what's going to happen? Stuff's going to fall out. So on this one, I'm going to make sure my zipper opening is up here. So if you guys want to make sure that the opening is up, I mean, if you're not wearing it that way, if you're wearing it around your waist, absolutely doesn't matter. Matters. But if you're gonna wear it, you know, crossbody style, think about which side of your body you want it to be on and where the zipper opening is gonna be. So this, this is gonna be the front piece of the fanny pack. So if I want to wear it like this, I want my zipper opening to be up here. So I'm going to have it going this direction. Oh, so that's the other way. Let me make sure. Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna, for me, I always like to try things on, see how it feels. So if I want my opening to be at the top, I want my zipper opening over on this side. So I'm glad I checked that for you guys. I was about to put it on the wrong side. All right. Does anyone have questions about that? Okay. So I'm lining up my zipper. Oh, wait, before we place our zipper, we need to mark the centers. So to do that, I'm just folding in half. This is a new way of putting in a zipper. I don't normally do it this way, but for accessories, this is helpful because the zipper placement needs to be centered. It's different than putting it in an opening in a garment. So I just fold it in half and I snip the top and the bottom. And I'm going to do the same with my zipper. I'm going to fold it in half. And I'm going to snip the edge right here like this.
Amy, this zipper, do you fold it in half at this where you sewed it or at the very end, both ends? I guess ends.
Fold it in half from your two stoppers.
Okay, from the two stoppers. Okay, got it.
Yeah, and I'm redoing mine because I didn't do that. I'm gonna fold it in half where the two stoppers are. And it really wasn't that much different. I'm just double checking. I want to make sure my zipper is right. All right, so now I'm going to match my center of my zipper with the center on my fabric, and my zipper is face down. I know Carol, I don't remember what it was, but you put the zipper face up and it was going the wrong direction. You had to take it out. So make sure your zipper is face down. You can always check. So just imagine opening up the zipper and, you know, it's going to be like this attached. You want the zipper to be face up, matching face of the fabric. So that's a way to double check. So make sure it's face down and you're matching the center. To the center. And then we're going to do the same with the lining. We're going to fold it in half. And just snip each end. Now I'm going to place my lining on top. And I'm matching the center with the center here. So I want the edge of my zipper to be with the edge of my fabric. And I'm gonna pin it. Starting in the center. And I'm gonna pin out. So I'm gonna pin out this way and then I'm gonna come back and pin out that way. You're definitely gonna need your zipper foot. And I'm actually gonna make sure that my pins are going the right direction because I never really do that, but it's such a pain in the butt to have to pull out the pins when they're going the other direction when you're sewing in a zipper. And this zipper is a little tricky. I mean, this piece right here isn't so tricky, but when we sew the other piece to the other side, it's a curve and it's just going to be a little bit tricky. I'm using lots of pins. I'm not going to make you guys baste it. We could baste and you don't have to worry about the pins. I think everyone can handle just doing it like this. So again, I want to make sure my zipper tape is at the edge, it's not slipping. Now I'm going to pin this way. So when we're done sewing and you open it up, it should be opening up like this. And your lining's pushed back this way. So that's how you double check. Okay, so now I'm ready to sew. I'm gonna go to the sewing machine, pop in my zipper foot, and I'm gonna sew about 1/4 of an inch from the edge all the way down to attach the zipper tape to the lining and the exterior fabric. I'm gonna switch to white thread. I'm gonna pause the recording. So I finished sewing and now I'm gonna press it open. What I do is I just go to the ironing board and I press like this with the iron, just straight like that. It's it helps. I mean, you could even open it up like this. Yeah. We haven't started sewing it all together. So you can go ahead and open it up and press the seam open. And then I'll show you the next step. The next step, we're going to top stitch. So I pressed my seam open, and then you're gonna fold it down like this. The lining should be in the back, covering your wrong side. And it should be pressed back far enough because you don't want the lining to get caught in your zipper. I hate it when that happens, so make sure that you pressed it really well back behind the zipper. I'm gonna go back to the ironing board and press again this way really well, because then the next step is to go to the sewing machine and we're gonna stitch right along this edge here. Do a nice top stitch. So it looks like this. See where I barely see the top stitch on the edge, right there. So iron again. This should be a review for most of you guys. Done this so many times. I'm gonna go do the top stitch and I'll pause the recording. Zoom recording. I did forget something. So for the top stitch, you only want to stitch from the stopper to stopper. So top stitch is stopper, starting at the stopper, ending at the stopper. It's supposed to be a 13-inch zipper, but somehow mine got shorter. It shrank while I was ironing it. So top stitch from stopper to stopper. So the top stitch should be about 1/8 of an inch from the edge. So that's what I did. Maria, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm somehow my fabric kind of pulled, so there's a little bit of a crumple. I don't know if it's too tight but I just stopped stitched my
Your fabric did what? It pulled?
Yeah, it kind of pulled a little bit. I don't know what, there's like a little bit of a wrinkle like
Oh,
between stitches, but maybe it's too tight, but I think it's okay.
oh,
Maybe
you're saying something with your sewing machine.
with my stitching.
Yeah, the tension.
The tension, yeah.
Okay. And it happened while you're doing the top stitch?
Yeah.
Yeah, mine kind of got a little funky too. Sometimes your sewing machine doesn't like the zipper tape.
Yeah.
You might want to try loosening the tension.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
I'll see if I can redo it.
okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Okay, so this next step's a little more tricky. We're gonna attach the other side. So this is a curve. We're gonna attach the zipper to this top side, this longer side. And again, we gotta mark the center, fold it in half. And you just do a little snip. It'll never show because, you know, the seam allowance will cover it up. Teeny snip. I'm just gonna straighten out my edge because matching. And then I have to prep the zipper because the zipper has to curve, right? You see this curve? It's not a straight line. I'm gonna have to go. In order to get the zipper tape to do that, you have to clip into it. Whenever we make a sleeve, whenever we set a sleeve, or, you know, or do anything, you make pants and you do the crotch, you always have to clip into the curve. So I'm just doing like a little teeny 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 inch snip into this zipper tape every 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch. That way it'll bend into that curve and lay flatter. So I have my exterior fabric face up, and I'm gonna lay my zipper face down. Because when we sew the zipper to the exterior fabric, it's gonna open up like this. We need the zipper to be opening up this direction. So I'm gonna match my center on my zipper to the center on the fabric. I'm going to mark it again. And I'm going to take my lining and lay it down on, well, actually, okay, so the first side did the lining and the exterior fabric together at the same time. And normally that's how you sew the zipper. I've done this before on bags and stuff. But because this is on a curve and it's a little tricky, we're going to do one at a time. So when I made my sample, I sandwiched the lining and the exterior fabric over the zipper, and I sewed all 3 layers together, and it didn't come out as well. It came out, show you. This is the curved, so this is the straight side, and it came out straight side came out really well. The curved side up here, it moved and my tape got kind of messy and funky. So the inspiration video, she did it separately, and so now I know why. So we'll go with what she did. So she pinned the tape to the exterior fabric and sewed one at a time. So that's what I'm going to do and see if it works out any better for me. And I'm recommending you guys do it that way too. So again, I want to make sure my pins are facing the right direction. I need all the help I can get because this is definitely a little tricky getting that zipper in on a curve. And after I put in the zipper, finish putting in the zipper, we'll see where we are with time and assess what we'll do next. There is a little bit more pattern making that needs to take place on these squares that we cut. And I might, if we have time, I'll have us prep that now so that at our next session, we don't have to do that. definitely a little tricky pinning the tape down because the interfacing makes the fabric stiff. Just kind of have to go slow. I'm gonna open my zipper up. It's a lot easier if the zipper's open. So I opened it way up and I have it closed about almost 2 inches closed, but the rest is open. It's much easier. So I'm gonna go to the sewing machine and I'm gonna stitch with my zipper foot about 1/4 of an inch from the edge all the way down. And then I'm gonna press it open and, well, actually, no, I'm not gonna press it open because I'm gonna go straight to attaching the lining. I'm gonna have to sew again. So we're gonna sew it twice because we're doing it separate. So again, I keep forgetting because I don't normally attach zippers this way. This is very product design. I'm apparel design. So we're gonna fold that fabric in half and snip the top and the bottom. We're gonna use this snip at the bottom when we're sewing the lining together. So that's why I'm doing both. So now we're gonna match that center with the center on our zipper. Pin. And then pin up this way and pin down that way. I'm gonna actually sew it this side up so that I can follow my stitch line. I want to follow the same stitch line. Again, remember, normally we would sew this all in one stitch, but because we broke it up, I don't want to have 2 different stitches. So I'm going to sew it from this direction. So I want to make sure my pins are the right direction so I just have an easier time of it. Do any of you have anything fun planned this weekend? My son is having a tent sleepover with some friends. They're going to sleep in the tent in the yard. So that's our big weekend. Otherwise, I just want to stay nice and cool because it is hot. So again, I just want to check to make sure I'm pinning everything the right way. Always. Yep. So when I fold it open, it's going to be like this, and that's the way I want it to be. I'm really excited. I actually really love this watermelon fabric. The blue will be fun. I'd love to see what fabrics you guys are using before we leave. Back to pinning. Okay. So yeah, now I'm gonna just go to the machine. I'm gonna sew it this side open. I gotta open up my zipper. I opened it up to about halfway open, and I'm gonna stitch right on top of my stitch line very carefully. I want to make sure that the lining doesn't slip and move. Finish stitching the lining, so it looks like this. And I'm going to go ahead and iron now. I'm going to need to top stitch again. So I'm going to press the seam open a little bit. Pretty happy with the zipper. It came out nice this time. So I'm going to iron the seam open and push everything back and prep and make this nice and flat so I can do a top stitch on this side. Oh, before you iron that seam open, you have to clip into it, the seam allowance. It won't lay flat. So I know this is a tiny little seam. So you're just doing the smallest little nip here, like a 1/8 of an inch little snip to help open it up and lay flat. You guys still with me?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes.
You guys have your fabric yet? Or anyone have any interesting fabric they want to show off? So getting into iron this is a little bit tricky. I'm using I have this little sleeve called sleeve edge for tailoring. And you're gonna need to use the end of your ironing board so that you can really get into that curve. But your zipper's gonna look so much better if you take iron the seam open, lay flat, and your top stitch will look better, look more professional. As you guys already know, so next month, August, sewing club is going to be a beginner class. So if you know anyone, it's going to be in person, and it's going to be for people that don't know how to sew, have never used a machine, or have barely used a machine. So if you know anyone, have any friends or teenagers at home, or want to learn how to use the sewing machine, it's going to be in person. And then September, we're doing another sewing clinic. So if you guys want to come out for that. Cherry and Carol, that was fun. See each other. Yeah, we're going to do another sewing clinic.
I'm sorry, you broke up a little bit, so I couldn't really hear what you just said.
Oh, you guys can't hear me?
Yeah, it seems like far.
Can you hear
you're-
me now?
Yeah, this is better now.
Sorry. I was saying that for August, I'm going to do an in-person class. It's beginner machine sewing. So if you know anyone who doesn't know how to use a sewing machine, who wants to use a sewing machine, or if you have any teenagers or anything, like anyone at home that wants to sew, it's in person, and we're just going to learn how to use the machine and learn how to do basic seams and hems. We're going to make a small project. And then for September, we're doing the sewing clinic again. So if you want to come out for that, great to see you guys. And then in October, we are doing a holiday project. We're gonna do stuffed pumpkins. It's gonna be really easy for you guys. People that, it's definitely one of the less challenging sewing classes, but it's really cute. You make pumpkins. They're big. They're like big stuffed pumpkins that you could use to put on a mantle or a centerpiece. That's what we're doing for October. I think that class is in person as well. And then I'll probably do another virtual one in November. But we're doing a lot of in-person over the next couple of months. Did you guys hear me?
Yes.
I heard you that time.
Okay, sorry. So pressing the zipper on this curve is definitely a little time consuming. So you know, I'm pressing it both from the inside of where the lining is and on the outside. That's Snoopy.
No, that's my dog Jax.
Oh, Jax. Aw.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm super happy with how this is looking. I'm gonna go do my top stitch. I pressed really well along the edge here on the inside and the outside. Now I'm gonna go do the top stitch. So the top stitch is gonna be, you're gonna have to curve it so that it's curved inside like this. You don't want it pushed out like that. I'm going to do it with the zipper open. It'll be much easier. I'm going to do it about 3/4 open, and I'm going to stitch right along here and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so finish that top stitch, and let's see, we have just a couple minutes left. So we'll have to do our prepping of this next week, unless you guys can stay for like 5 minutes. It doesn't take very long.
I can stay.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna put this aside. Next week, you guys should have this much caught up. We'll attach the lining and the exterior, and I'll show you how to do that next week. These pieces here are this little straps, these little pieces on that attach to the buckle. That's what these are going to become. So again, we're prepping them very similar to how we just prepped the other pieces. So we're gonna lay our two pieces out like this, our two interfacing pieces. They're 3 by 3 1/4. And you're gonna measure, take one of them and you're gonna measure down 2 inches. And make a mark. So I'm measuring 2 inches down on the right side. And then you're gonna draw a straight line from that mark to the left corner. So it looks like that. And then this one, so I have this piece on the right side and this piece on my left side facing me.
Amy,
Yeah,
which, you know, the interfacing is 3 by 3 point and a quarter. So where do you measure the,
right. The 3 1/4 is the long, is this side. So
Okay.
this side is the 3 1/4.
and what is the measurement again? 1 inch?
Oh, you're gonna measure 2 inches down
Oh,
from the
okay.
top right corner. So you're measuring from up here, 2 inches down and marking. And then you draw your line across. And this distance here is 3 1/4. And then you take the other one and, sorry, mine already has markings on it. I have, the one I just did is on my right side. This one's on my left side. And I'm gonna measure down 2 inches and mark on the left side and draw the line in. So you have two pieces like this. You guys got that?
Yeah.
So then you can lay them on top of each other and make that cut. And then you're gonna iron, you're gonna make sure you're using the 3 1/4 side. You're gonna iron it to it just like this. And then you'll take another one. And iron like this. The other two you don't need to put interfacing on. These are like the lining pieces and these are like the exterior pieces. You can save these two for next week. They're ready to go. So you're just gonna iron these on. like this, and then they'll be ready. Well, and after you iron them on, then you cut this off on all of them. So I'm gonna go iron them and I'll show you what to do. So it's not confusing. So once they're attached, then you can lay it's easier to just cut like this because you can't put them on top of each other. You have to just cut one off like that. Now you can lay that one on top. And if you want to cut all of them at once, you can. They're all going to be the same. Make sure your patterns are all going the right directions.
So all 4 pieces, right?
Yeah, well, wait a second, wait. I don't want to, because there is a direction.
Oh.
So these-
Okay.
So then this one, let's cut this one. Let's just do it one at a time.
Okay.
So they're like this. Now you're going to take another one and you're going to do right sides together. This one over, do right sides together. And then turn it over and now you can cut. Because these two go together and these two go together. You want to make sure they're facing the right direction. So there you go. And we're done for today. Bye, Carol.
Thank you, Amy.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Amy.
I'll see you guys next week, or not next week, next Saturday.